The last few months have been tremendously transformative for Soulframe, so if you took a break and are just now coming back to the game, things are going to look a bit different. Or if you're a new player looking for guides to help you learn how things work, some of what you find is going to be a bit confusing, but not anymore. In this video, we're going to cover everything that has changed in the last two Preludes and what's coming in Preludes 15. It's time for an update on the state of Soulframe. Soulframe's awkward adolescent era started in Preludes 13, and the most controversial change by far was the addition of prisms. Prior to P13, you would need to manually allocate the virtue points your envoy gains as you level up using little plus and minus buttons in your armory. Unfortunately, some new players didn't know that they had points to spend and probably ended up feeling too weak for content that was appropriate for their level. In P13, DE solved this problem by adding prisms, which automatically allocated available virtue points according to that prism's weighted distribution, but that left veteran players with less control over their builds than they wanted. Now, in P14.5, prisms have been replaced with virtue liths, a consumable item that lets you move this little pebble around to change how your virtue points are distributed. You can get more virtue liths from sieges and world bosses, but you won't need to worry about that for much longer, because in Preludes 15, rebalancing your virtues in this interface will be unlimited and free. New players won't have to worry about spending points as they level up, and veteran players will have unlimited control over their virtue distribution. So, what do these virtue points do? In Preludes 13, the old system of Courage, Spirit, and Grace increasing Arcanic strength, duration, and range respectively was replaced with a new system. Courage Arcanics now scale with Courage, Spirit Arcanics scale with Spirit, and Grace Arcanics scale with Grace. But on top of that, your virtue distribution also impacts your envoy's health, Arcanic cooldowns, and damage multipliers. Points in Courage give you the most health, points in Grace give a modest amount of health but also vastly increase headshot and stealth multipliers, and points in Spirit give you the least amount of health and modestly reduce your Arcanic cooldowns. In P14, this remained largely unchanged, although the Grace multipliers got significantly stronger, such that any weapon that can headshot is immediately strongest on a Grace build. These changes to our Envoy's virtue scaling also came with virtue attunement normalization for weapons. In P13, all melee weapons were attuned to Courage, ranged weapons and short blades were attuned to Grace, and magic weapons were attuned to Spirit. The idea was to make the virtues feel like separate classes, although in P14, rapiers were added to the game, which use the long blade combat arts but are attuned to Grace. Weapon joinery can no longer change the attunement of your weapon and doesn't add any attack bonuses, but it does add pips of attunement to your weapon, making its damage scale more strongly with the virtue you bless it with. As of P14.5, we still only have single virtue joinery, which limits the utility of hybrid builds in most cases. We haven't heard of any changes planned for P15, but I would not be surprised if there are more virtue changes coming in the future, possibly after we see how tempers impact weapon builds. Tempers were only recently introduced with the addition of Ors 3 in Preludes 14.5. This heavy mace drops pre-built at different craftwork tiers and with a variety of tempers, special bonuses that affect weapon performance. This is how all weapons will drop in P15, and we're going to get some exciting new crafting additions to go along with this change. We'll be able to convert our extra drops into crafting materials, and Tuvalkane will use those materials to refine our favorite weapons, improving their craftwork and adding more tempers. Inventory capacity also got some tweaks to make room for this new system, and in P15 you'll be able to preview a weapon before picking it up and convert it into crafting materials without taking up an inventory slot if you know you don't want that weapon. And this system is only going to get better in the future. The next addition will be a way for us to customize tempers on fully upgraded weapons, although this won't be ready yet in P15. So, trying out new weapons in P15 will be much easier for new players since you won't need to worry about grinding materials and crafting the weapon first. And P14 made leveling up much easier with improvements to faction tales. World trees now have votives that allow you to preview what types of faction tales are available and select the one you want to complete. And if you're not near a world tree, a faction representative will spawn near you with tales from the nearest tree. In P14.5, our Omen Beasts started appearing around the map, offering different buffs, including an experience boost that helps with leveling up, and in P15 we'll see even more visitors offering even more options. And standing is also easier to grind in P14, with items called favors dropping from all content in the game. These favors can be sold to each of the faction representatives, and while each faction has a preferred favor, all 3 favors can get you at least some standing with all 3 factions. And you don't have to wait before swapping factions anymore, so once you've crafted a faction's talisman, you will have free access to their faction shop. Runes also saw some changes in P14. They no longer activate automatically when you pull a smite, but instead get charged up by smite pulls. The number of charges a rune can hold increases as you upgrade it, and the brand new weapon rune keybind lets you select a custom input activation for your rune. We are getting some changes to runes and totems in Preludes 15, so expect a new guide as soon as that update arrives, and hopefully then the activation system will also get a few tweaks to make it equally good on all grip types. While Preludes 13 and 14 primarily focused on changes to Soulframe systems and mechanics, we did get a bit of new story content. P14 added Maestra Carmo, our newest ancestor whose fable gives you fragments for Duello, a new pact, and Navala, one of the new rapiers. Orlick also got a bit of an overhaul and now has a new quest chain that both helps new players learn the game and gives some very nice rewards, so this is definitely worth completing for all envoys. We also have some new game modes to enjoy, with organs being added in P13, a new siege at Mirafwir and the Ravgot Ruins tileset preview added in P14, and another new siege at Turret Jotar is coming in P15. And now you can team up with 3 other envoys for a 4-person squad to complete that content. And if you're looking for people to team up with, you can see other players when you're near a world tree, inspect their equipped items, and invite them to join your squad. So, a lot has been changing very quickly in Soulframe, and while some of our systems are finally starting to stabilize a bit, there are still more changes ahead with things like player trading coming in P15, improvements to fast travel mentioned with an unknown arrival date, and mounts coming sometime this year. Surely. So we'll definitely have some brand new guides in P15, and I'll keep you updated on what gets added and changed in the future. But in the meanwhile, you're all caught up on the current state of Soulframe. Let me know in the comments which new feature you're most excited about, and until next time, happy hunting!